Hey everybody, welcome to the Art of NFT Business. I am your host, Jonathan. My co-host, Florian, wasn't able to make it today. As we all know, he is a professional soccer player and it is mid-season. So there is a lot going on right now, and he needed time to rest. He has a lot of games back to back. It's amazing. I mean, two games a week. I mean, traveling, and it's craziness. So I hope, Florian, if you're watching this, I hope you're getting a lot of rest. We would have loved to have you on the show today, but we'll see you the next episode. Okay, so today's guest is Nigel Hickey. Nigel will explain who he is. He basically works for VMware. It is a cloud storage computing company, but he is really here. He is a good friend of mine. And he is really here because I have been just banging on his door saying, you've got to get into the blockchain. And he finally read The Truth Machine, which was the first book that I read to get into the blockchain. And he has a couple of questions for us today. And we're going to go through those. How are you, Nigel?
Good morning, Jonathan, and good morning, everybody. I'm doing good. It's early here in Texas, so I have my coffee this morning, so hopefully that'll keep me energized. Uh, like Jonathan said, yes, he has been knocking on the door for quite some time about the blockchain. I believe the last knock on the door that made me answer was the book arrived at my doorstep. So
Well, then it's not on your doorstep
for
for
a little
about 4
while,
months.
right?
Yeah, yeah. But
But yes.
I'll tell you, Nigel. So the reason why I really kind of pressured you to read that book was because you're somebody who, in your career, you went from basically customer service to saying, "Hey, I've got to get seriously professional with this. I've got to figure all this stuff out." And you really educated yourself in like cloud database and databases in general, how they work, and then into the cloud sphere. So you're really somebody, as a technologist, you're somebody who should be on the earlier curve of adopting new technology. But of course, as with everybody, life kind of takes over, right? And it's the same thing with me. Like, I watch all of these videos, hey, learn how to code in the blockchain. And I'm like, I think my coding days are over. I
Right.
think, my days of learning new code are gone. And to sit down and now learn new code and learn how to build new things, you know, I'm a little bit beyond that. So, look, if I have to, I'll learn it, but I really would prefer to hire other people at this point.
And I appreciate that recognition because at that time I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I went from, like you said, the customer service help desk side into, let me show you how to build a cloud network and all this other kind of stuff with virtualization. And that's what got me kind of hooked on the VMware
Yeah,
stuff.
we
Yeah,
we should say that both of us worked at the same company for a period of time.
sure.
We're not going to mention what company that was,
No,
but
that's fine.
yeah.
They don't need an up or down on their stock ticker, so it's fine.
Down, definitely down. Yeah. So Nigel, you're gonna hit me up with a couple of questions. I
Yeah.
have pre-read the questions, so we're gonna have a lot of fun in the very beginning here, right off the bat. Go ahead and just ask me question number one.
Yeah, no, totally. So I kind of put these together, off the top of my head, some from the book. My son has actually a little bit been dabbling in some coin activity and trying to figure that out too. So it's nice to see the younger crowd doing that as well. And I feel like I'm already behind. So this is a good opportunity, I think, here. So I think the first question is really just explaining the difference between the different types of blockchains, between private, public, and so forth, right? So
So are
what's
you
what's
going? Let me ask you because I did read the questions. So the joke is the first two questions in that list. I have no idea. So let's go.
I love it.
Let's go hit them in order, right in order. So what is that first question? Because I read it. I didn't do any further research. I just want to go off the top of my head.
Yeah.
There'll be plenty of comments where people say that I've gone wrong or
And
whatever it
that's
is.
real life. It's okay.
But I know that I read those first two and I was like, oh, I don't have. about that. Yeah, we're gonna bleep out the cursing also. Yeah.
So we'll skip to an easy one. No.
No. I want people to know that what I can't answer. So
Okay,
go
fair
ahead
enough.
and ask me that first question.
Yeah. So can you explain the difference between the three types of blockchains: private, public, and consortium? Consortiums, if I can
Consortium,
speak
right?
correctly. Yeah.
Okay. And my answer to you is I have no clue what consortium is.
Yeah, me neither. So that's
Was
why
that
I
in the
asked.
book? Was that in the book?
No, that was something I Googled, and I found an interview question, and I was
Oh.
like, I wouldn't pass that either. So
No,
no.
not at all. I think the majority of people that I know in the industry wouldn't pass that
Right.
either.
Yeah. Private and public makes sense.
Okay, public and private. Okay, now, first of all, these are all kind of like when we say private, we're talking about corporations that are now getting into the blockchain
Yeah.
and they're trying to, you know, blockchains aren't supposed to be private, right? Everyone is supposed to have access to the ledger. If you're going to make a private blockchain, it's either for nefarious reasons
Mm-hmm.
or you're trying to maintain control over your customers, clients, or
Right.
community.
And I'll say briefly, I know that we're dabbling in that, and we have one as well at the office. But it is controlled to certain stuff right now. It's not blocked from open source and contributors, but it's still private because I think it's like you're building your own little thing to see how things go.
Okay, well, that's interesting because if we're saying that private is that it's just not open source, I can get behind that, right? So the work that the Richard Hart is doing currently in building the Pulse chain, that software is private, but the blockchain is public. To me, when you say private, that says you're not going to give me access to the ledger to be able to read it. But if that's not the case, if it's just simply a question of open source versus closed, then I understand private, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think Citibank and Wells Fargo are suddenly excited to allow people to read the ledger of their private blockchain.
Because they're the whole problem that we're trying to get rid of anyway.
That's exactly it. And we'll get into that with the fiat currency and everything like that. We'll get into all that. Okay, so that was so public is public, it's open source, you should be able to read the ledger. Private is possibly closed source and you can't read the ledger, and I have no idea what consortium is.
I love honesty. This is good.
Yeah.
So
Number two.
So the next one I have, and this is super technical, right? So this is what I was kind of listening to the book and hearing people talk about this stuff. And so for years, everybody uses an encryption algorithm called SHA or SHA 256. It's super standard in the industry, but I've also realized that Ethereum created their own called EThash or ET hash. So it's their own hashing system.
ERC21.
Yeah. So, and I've heard, some of these things have been flimsy. Other people have done them on their own. And I'm just wondering, like, if an industry standard has been around for so long, are they just trying to create something new because they don't want people's fingers in the mix, of this thing that was invented, years ago for IT? Or is it something else? Is it just like easy to use the 256 because it's there?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to build my own because I don't want people to, to have any kind of control over this old technology or this old encryption. Yeah, so that was my real question. They're like, what's the difference between the two? But I think that's like way above both of us. So
yeah, it's way above my pay grade. Way above my pay grade. Yeah.
So anyone in the comments wants to comment on that? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not even going to speculate. I know ERC21, and I believe there's ERC20 is in the Ethereum protocols, but I've never heard of what is it?
Yeah, SHA-256. So you would, because that it basically protects all like web traffic and things that you do. So anything you did in IT and when we worked together in IT was protected by the 256 algorithm.
Oh,
So when
oh,
you
so
log
it's so it's like a
It's a
cryptology.
crypto, yeah, it's an
Oh,
encryption. Yeah,
oh, it's an
it's an
encryption.
encryption piece of
Okay.
security. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
so it's been around for quite a while, but
Yeah.
it's one of those things that for years people weren't up on it, and then it became the hotness, and now you're like, okay, they're building something new, which I get because everything's new. So
Yeah. So now I'm super excited. We've gotten past those top two questions that were just, I was going to write back to you and say like,
we're
hey,
like, I
there's
have no
no way
idea.
I can answer this. We shouldn't even do the show if these questions Okay.
No.
So now
All
we
right.
get
Well,
into
now we get to
the
the easy
juicy
ones.
stuff. Not easy. Nothing here is easy. But we get into the meat of the questions. Okay. So
Yeah.
this
So
is
now I guess
question.
with a good question here is what makes a blockchain or the coin valuable versus a competitor with the same idea?
Okay, that's a great question. We really have to kind of break that down
Sure. Yeah.
into first what is a coin or what is a
Or
token.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Go ahead.
So the way I try to explain it to people, and I still, it's I don't talk to technologists that much, right? You're a technologist, I'm a technologist. But so if I said to you, maybe this analogy will work for you. If you could have given $1,000 to the developer who was building the shipping standards for Amazon's warehouses, and you said all I want back is 0.0001 cent of every single order,
Mhm.
you would be a billionaire by now.
Easily. Yeah.
As opposed to putting $1,000 into Amazon stock, which would have gone up and down and up and down and up and down, but finally up to the right, and you would have made $1 million.
Right.
When you're talking about coins, you're really talking about investing in the protocol and the corporation at the software level,
Mhm.
right? This is what a lot of people don't get. They're like, oh, I'm buying Ethereum coin to be able to buy my NFTs to be able to participate in the blockchain. No, what you're actually doing is you are you're part of the circle of life, right? So this is going to get into your minor question, right? Because everything has to have a base of economy, right? Nobody wants to do anything for free, right? So you have to pay your developers
Mhm.
something, and you don't necessarily want to pay them in fiat currency, which is US dollars, because you want them to be connected to the program, right? So then you give them coins. In order to make the coins, you need miners. And I know that you're going to have another question in a little
Yeah.
while about mining, but you're essentially saying, I need this system to run, so I need workers and developers. Those workers are the miners. Now, there's proof of stake and there's proof of work. Proof of stake means that me, Jonathan, am putting $1,000 in, saying I'm convinced that Ethereum is going to be a great development, blockchain, and I am getting back, well, right now. So if I put $1,000 in, I wouldn't even have one Ethereum, because
Right. Right. You'd have a
Ethereum,
fraction of that.
I'd have
Yeah.
a fraction of Ethereum, which I do all the time. I buy little
Sure.
fractions of Ethereums and I buy NFTs. But that's proof of stake. I'm going to take my $1,000 and I'm going to stake it. I'm going to put it into a bank, right? A bank,
Mhm.
and say I am staking this as proof that this system is something valuable to me.
Right.
And then the more that is staked, the more interest you make, and that goes to the miners,
Yeah.
right? The more transactions, they make money on the transactions, they make money on everything, right? And they need to, because there has to be a reason to develop the coins, have more coins out there, right? Because we're a very small industry right now.
Mhm.
But as we grow in the next 10 years, there are going to be, you know, once it jumps the shark, once my mother's like, oh, I bought an NFT. Well, okay, well, now I know, like, you know, everyone and their mother is going to have an NFT, right?
Right.
Or, you know, she goes to an event or she buys something in a clothing store and they're like, would you like your receipt as an NFT? And she's like, I'll take an NFT. I don't know what it is. What do I have to do? And then she like gets into the game, right?
Right.
Right now, these next 10 years is a ramp up to jump the shark.
Okay.
A ramp up to get to the point where my mom is going to get onto, just like she did like in the .coms. Like, you know, when my mom got on Facebook, I was like, well, there you go.
Right.
Like,
She stopped sending mail to the government and she started doing it on email. Yeah. So yeah.
Right. She started using email, right? No,
Right.
that was the first step, right? Then she started using Facebook. Now the next step's going to be when she gets an NFT or when she gets a crypto coin or, you know, something like that. And of course, like, you know, there's all these scams and everything like that, and I have to educate her and all that. But in other words, the point is that right now, these are the next 10 years, right?
Yeah.
So this is exactly the same as Web 1.0, right? I got into Web 1.0 when it moved from DARPA and the colleges and it moved to AOL, right? I mean, that was a great move, right?
Yeah.
That was, you know, that, okay, so it took 10 years. DARPA created this, then the colleges got it, and then finally AOL came around.
Yep.
And then AOL, you count the 10 years from when AOL and Netscape started, and what do you have? You have Google. Right?
Yeah.
So these are all in 10-year increments. So we've just gone through the first 10 years of Bitcoin, and now we're in this development time, right? And what I'm so excited about, and I know I'm getting off track with
you're fine.
With your question, but we'll get back to that in a second, is, you know, the volatility is so incredible. It's wiping out, you know, these little, I wouldn't call them little, but Luna. Now we have this morning, Celsius is down. Like all of these kind of platforms that aren't the big leaders, Bitcoin, Ethereum, in my opinion, Shiba Inu, you know, this Pulse Chain, you know, Pulse X, Pulse Chain, all that stuff. These are going to be the leaders, right? I happen to fortunately get in at the kind of ICO level, which is initial coin offering level of Pulse Chain. So I put $300 in, I got 3 million coins back out, right? And hopefully those 3 million coins go to $1 someday. And then I have, you know, multi-millions of dollars. That is, and listen, you know, this isn't, you know, fantasy land. I'm not in, you know, all of that. I mean, this is, you know, this is how these things work. You have to give time for development. You have to expect volatility, and then you wind up with an Ethereum. Now, what happens if Pulse Chain now goes like Ethereum went and goes all the way up to $4,000? I have $4 trillion. And now we have, like, listen, $300 was like the base. Like that was like the minimum. Like, people put in like hundreds of thousands of dollars. People who have already made money in crypto invested millions of dollars. They're sitting on trillions of coins, which is the same thing with Ethereum. There are whales out there. There are people who got into the ICO for Ethereum, sat on it for, you know, 6 years, and now have trillions of dollars.
Right, because it started off a little shaky, right? And then it started to, you know, take off. So I think your answer is good. It reminds me a little bit of, you know, like we're almost like crowdsourcing angel investors, basically. You know, like we're all like, that's a good idea. Here's some money to back it, you know, type of thing, right? So
and look, we see this with Luna, and we're seeing it with Celsius today. With Luna, I know you're probably not up on all this, but you know, this guy Do Kwon, so Harvard, first big X, like, you know. I don't deal with, if you say to me I graduated from an Ivy League, I say, sayonara, sir. Good luck to you. They are the least employable people on the planet, right? They basically are test takers.
I was just going to say the exact same thing. It's just they've been built to take tests. Yeah.
Right. They're built to take tests. They
standardized wins.
Because they can take tests, right? The rest of us have creativity and imagination and, all these other things that don't play into a test. But all of these guys in Harvard, geniuses, geniuses.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so this Do Kwon guy, you know, good at math, obviously, super smart. He creates this coin that basically fails like within a very short period of time. What does he do? He already made money on it regardless. What does he do? He creates a new coin and does the same exact thing, but now with trillions of dollars. It's been reported that he was pulling out $80 million from Luna every single month into a private wallet. This guy
What?
is such a criminal. So anyway, I know again, I'm getting totally off track, but you have to back the right horse. Give me
Right.
the question again. Let me see if I can summarize this. Right.
So it was basically what makes the blockchain or the coin valuable versus the competitor. And I think you nailed that. Like
Yeah,
basically,
and let me summarize.
yeah, go ahead.
Popularity.
Yeah. Popularity.
100%.
And that could also be popularity in the wrong direction, right? Like popularity of an event or like of a setup of a company that doesn't do well because they don't get along or they can't get this to get off the ground or whatever happens, right?
It could be great in 5 years, or it could be great in 10 years, or it could never take off. I mean,
Right. That's the guarantee that I think people that I talk to are looking for, because I think some people still relate it to the stock market, right? They look for that like investment and return. And this is more like, do you believe in this and have you bought into it, or do you understand that they're on the right track or not? Like that type of thing. So
Yeah, remember, the only thing that Bernie Madoff did wrong was that he wound up in an economic crisis and then people wanted their money back at the same time. That's why, people go, oh, Ponzi scheme, Ponzi scheme. Like they don't understand what a Ponzi scheme is. Like
right.
a Ponzi scheme, the US currency is Ponzi,
Sure.
right?
The one that makes me crazy is people that are like, there's a person I follow on Instagram. I won't say who they are. They're a tattoo artist and they only do cash. So he was, like the cash is king, but he kind of like one day he said something about, blockchain or Bitcoins, and I'm never going to switch to something else. I'm like, literally all we're doing is taking the cash that I hand Jonathan in the street and making that a digital transaction, right? So I don't have to go through processing and clearing houses. It's not like when I pay the guy to cut my grass, the $25 doesn't go through Visa and everybody else before it hits his hand.
Right.
Like we're just doing a digital cash transaction between one to one. And it could be machine to machine, person to person, whatever. I get all that. But it's so funny when I'm like, cash is king. Yeah, so is this. It's the same thing.
Well,
in a sense, from person to person or object to object, there's no middleman. So it's like I want to pay with cash and be done with the transaction type of thing.
Yeah, but let me just go back into the whole Ponzi scheme thing, right? So stocks are a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
Total Ponzi scheme, right? You think Amazon is going to do great this year? Well, guess what? They missed their numbers. Uh-oh, the street doesn't like that. Number go down.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the US currency is a Ponzi scheme. From the time that we got off of gold, the dollar has been devaluing every single year for the past 7 decades, right? I mean, the value of your dollar today buys you so much less than it did when your grandparents had a dollar.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Think about that, right?
Yeah.
So when you're talking about Ponzi schemes, it's all a question of popularity. US fiat currency, all the fiat currencies are all popularity. Hey, guess what? US currency isn't that popular anymore. Well, where should I move my money? Where should I move? You go to a different country, you have to do an exchange, right? You don't have to do that with cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
I can go from country to country to country with my crypto, and its value is only indicative of what it sold last in the crypto market.
Because now we have a difference between individualized currencies and a global currency. Country currencies versus global, meaning like a coin would be global. So that way you wouldn't have to worry about making a transaction with someone in, France or Germany or something like that, it would be fine. There wouldn't be any,
Right.
like you're just doing Bitcoin or Ethereum to Ethereum and you're done, right? So
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. When you go to do that transaction between America and France, a lot of people have their hand out. A lot of
yeah.
people are getting parts of that
And
money.
we don't even know that as a consumer that, like my money didn't get to that person's hand or that company. It got through like all these regulations and peeled off its little take or added a fee so I could process it
Oh,
and all
yeah.
that other stuff, right?
Yeah. Think
So
about
instead
it.
of
I
paying
mean, if you,
$25, I'm paying $35 in transactions.
right. I mean, before this new technology, what did we have? We had Venmo and we had PayPal. They're all taking percentages.
Yeah.
I send you $100. You're not getting $100.
Yep.
You're getting $95 or
Yeah.
$97.
Yep.
And then those little fees all get tacked up. If you don't have to do that between me and you, I send you Bitcoin and you send me Bitcoin and there's no discrepancy. I mean, it's brilliant. Okay,
Yeah.
question number whatever.
So that kind of leads us into both of these questions kind of relate. So I'll put them together. So explain what a miner is, but then second part of that could be, can anyone be a miner? And is there money in being a miner?
Great question. Okay, so let's do the first question
Yeah,
first.
yeah.
First question is
What is explain the term miner or what a miner is in this industry.
okay. So let me go back to proof of stake and proof of work.
Yep.
Okay, so I already explained proof of stake, which is basically people invest and then they put their money into a stake, a pool, a staking pool
Yep.
that then generates interest. A portion of that interest goes back to, the funding of the, whether that's the
Project.
miners or whatever it might be, right? Proof of work is a big problem. Okay. Because proof of work is Bitcoin and Ethereum before Ethereum's trying to go to Ethereum 2.0, which is proof of stake. But right now they're proof of work. And what that says, because you have to remember 10 years ago, you had to create an economy. You had to get people to do things in order to get the coin to produce, right? So your question of, how does a coin get produced? Well, it's in the background and then you're releasing it because you're doing something. You're either staking it or you're working for it. The working for it is a mathematical computation that continues to get harder and harder. And what's happened now, right? If 10 years ago, Jonathan and Nigel said, hey, let's plug this server in and get it to, figure out how many Bitcoin it can solve this math problem for. But the math problems continue to get more complex. Right. And so, you might have started off with, four squared, whatever it is. Now you're at these huge computational mathematic problems that require so much energy because all of these systems are running, all of these servers are running, attempting to solve these math problems. A lot of people see these walls of servers and they're like, oh, they must be mining for Bitcoin and each one is getting, no. They're working together computationally. This is why we're going to get to quantum computing so quickly, is because all of these computers working together, and you understand this from the server capacity stuff, all these servers working together, trying to solve these problems within a 10-minute sphere. You only have 10 minutes, and then everyone around the world is competing for that coin that's going to be released every 10 minutes. And so the more people that are doing it, the more challenges there are. You have to have super fast computers. You have to have really incredible internet if you're going the challenge of Bitcoin. Now, there are other coins that you can mine. There's Monero. There's other coins like that. I'm only aware of Monero and a couple of other coins, like that. But most of them have moved to proof of stake. Proof of stake, you and I don't need servers because we just simply need to take the money that 10,000 grand that we would have, used to buy the server and just simply buy the coin, stake it, and then that's where the interest comes and that's where our money comes in and all that, right? But proof of work means I've got multiple servers running, and yes, anybody can do this. The harder it gets, the more funding you need for these servers that are going to try to solve these computational problems.
Right, because you're not talking about the home computer sharing some of its CPU.
Not for Bitcoin anymore.
Not anymore. That in the
Right.
very beginning,
You could
folks
have.
were doing that, right?
Right.
But now you're talking, these like HPC systems, like high performance computing systems
Oh, yeah.
that are basically that colleges are using for data science and things like that. You're talking about those labs that are saying, okay, when the lab goes off at 5 o'clock and everybody leaves, the lab can run at nighttime and dig out some stuff. But even those things are becoming obsolete, right? Because you said the more computing power that you need, it's multiple data centers and it's multiple housings of servers and things like that. So then it's cost prohibitive at some point. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, right now, I think the last time somebody pitched me to buy a server, I want to say that it was $15,000. It might have been closer to $25,000. And then the deal was I owned that server, and that server worked in this warehouse, and and like I would wind up like making back my money like within 2 years because it would get like fractions of the Bitcoin.
So I guess the miner was important in the beginning, but now it's changing based off of the proof of work and proof of state.
Right.
Okay.
And also, all of these cries of the environment and the energy being used, people have to realize that's all proof of work. And that's really just Bitcoin and it's Ethereum. And what's great, and just as an aside, the great thing is if I checked right now, I'm going to actually check right now where we are in the world. Oh my God. It's okay, so Bitcoin is at.
Yeah, Bitcoin's ridiculous, right?
It's disastrous.
And this is everyone that's listening, right? 1 Bitcoin equals what today?
$23,952.
Yeah.
Which is down considerably from the high of $60,000.
Okay. And recently I looked maybe a week or two ago and I thought it was at like 30 something. So
oh yeah. No, it's dropping super fast.
And the last time I looked at Ethereum, it was at like 3,600.
Oh yeah, no, it's at 1,200.
Okay. So it's down.
Yeah. Oh, huge.
And that makes me sad because that gets me into my next question.
Yeah.
About NFTs, and that's the name of your podcast a little bit here too, is I started to dabble and get involved with a company. I won't list who they are unless you want me to say who they are, but
put it in the chat.
Yeah, we can put it in the chat. But basically, I was going to be purchasing an NFT from them. And I backed out. I did a little bit of
remember
like
this conversation.
Yeah, yes, and it was just to give the folks who are listening a little high level. It's basically an NFT character in a video game that I would own the character or the IP, the intellectual property of that character, and then I can play as that character, or I can rent that character to Jonathan or my friends to play, and I would be making money based off of like the actions that I do in the game if I'm leveling up or if I'm doing things like that. But it sounded super cool because I'm in the game realm as well, but I kind of got away from it. But I understand that that's a thing as well. So this gets me into the NFTs since there's so many things that can be an NFT.
Yeah.
I guess some folks, like my son was telling me, he doesn't think that they have much value anymore, and maybe that's because he's not hearing about it. And I think there's still value in an NFT. I think it's just it got into the whole like flood of like, oh my god, everything's an NFT, get one, and then everyone's like, I don't know what to do now that I have it. What do I do with my hands?
Right. What do I do with my hands?
Yeah, like
exactly. So we have to break down this conversation.
Yeah.
Into NFTs today and NFTs tomorrow.
Okay.
So NFTs today are game NFTs and art NFTs.
Yep.
NFTs in the future will be you having your wallet and all of your health and medical information is in NFT form. Mm-hmm. Your house insurance, your car insurance, all documents will be connected to your wallet that define who you are and what you own. Okay. Right. So that's the next iteration of NFTs. Now let me tell you a little.
And that's exciting for me. What if we get to that? Like there's lots of red tape and government stuff to get through. But yeah, that's exciting.
Right. And also it's going to take the ingenuity of the entrepreneur to understand this, right? So I don't have any background in insurance, But if I could partner with an insurance company and say, okay, I always tell this story, right? So we refinanced the house here, and it was a 6 month ridiculous process that, we filled out stuff. We didn't hear from them for like 4 months. And then we get a call and they're like, can you come to the office at 11 o'clock on Thursday? And I was like, Thursday this week? They were like, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, today's Tuesday. You're asking me 2 days from now to be in your office. That's not how the world works.
Right.
And they're like, okay, well, we can do it in 2 weeks. I was like, so wait. So you're telling me that you can either do it at 11 o'clock on Thursday this week, or you have to reschedule me for 2 weeks from today?
Right.
Yes. Okay, well, that's ridiculous, right? And the amount of paperwork and the amount of forms and all these different things, ridiculous. And let me tell you something. I apologize to anyone who's listening to me who's currently in the home title insurance world. You're an effing moron. You are the stupidest people on the planet. I mean,
is it the people or the system? I don't know.
You want to talk about paper pushers.
Yeah.
I mean, these are people that, they come back into the office probably once a week. They're like, pick their nose. They see that there's a piece of paper. They put the piece of paper in this bin. They're done for the day. I mean, it's the most ludicrously stupid. It's like, it's like on a football team where you have like the idiot, and that's the guy who goes into the title insurance.
Oh my God, I love you.
Like the lowest man on the totem pole of like grades. Like that's the guy who's going to go into that level of stuff. And I apologize for anyone who's now terribly insulted. But here's the thing. The process is so convoluted. But it's the same thing with banks. But they don't want to tell you this. Why is there a bank on every single corner? Because they don't know what to do with their money. Why are there buildings filled with people who are managing my money, which I don't even have any money in the cash fiat world, right? In this planet, my cash, I don't have any cash. Nobody knows how much I, have, because it's not in cash. And so they have all these people, and it's simply because the processes that they've put in place are so ridiculous and so redundant that they need a system like a blockchain to be able, and NFTs, to simplify this.
Yeah, totally.
You have a deed, you have a title on your house, right? That currently is held by the bank. At some point I'll pay off my house, you'll pay off your house. You're going to get a little piece of paper that says, congratulations, you own this property.
Yeah, having that in a digital form that can't be changed because of the ledger and all that kind of stuff that's not hackable, having that information, like just going from doctor to doctor. I mean, recently my daughter was at a doctor, and then the next doctor couldn't figure out the information. You had to sign all these papers to say like, hey, this doctor's allowed to tell that doctor what happened yesterday. That's something that you could easily have in your hardware wallet or something like that, that's easily transferable, knowing it comes from the truth of the source, or the source of truth from you. That is me, that is my medical records. And then away we go and we have a conversation. And, the medical industry is so far beyond archaic. It's almost the same as the US government, running Windows 95 machines and all this other stuff that still runs in the government and in hospitals. I mean, hospitals pay a lot of money for their big softwares like Epic and Cerner and things like that, but they still don't have a process that share that with another hospital with the same name, or a building down the street with the same name. It's like, go fill out more paperwork and come in 15 minutes early so you can fill out all your stuff.
Right. All redundancy. Unbelievable redundancy. Whereas opposed to just having your wallet. They do this in Estonia, by the way. You probably read that in the book, right?
I believe I've touched on that a little bit in the book. Yeah.
Yeah. So in Estonia, if you're in a car, everyone in Estonia has a wallet, has an e-wallet, and has their medical data in that e-wallet. So if you're in a car accident, the ambulance picks you up, they get your information, they know who you are, the government is able to unlock your health information to the hospital, and before you arrive, the hospital has all of your medical records.
Yeah, that's wonderful. They could save your life faster.
Think about like the last time that like there was a major incident where like hopefully this never happens to you, but like, the ambulance comes, you fell down the stairs, you're having a heart attack, whatever it might be. Somebody needs to be there to tell them What if you're allergic to penicillin, or if you're, otherwise they're going to shoot you with a ton of stuff
Right.
because they have no
And
idea.
the best we're doing today is we're using our mobile devices that are easily hackable
Oh, yeah.
to hold our private information. Like, hey, here's the number you call if I fall down. Here's the things I'm allergic to in your Google phone or your iPhone. But those are okay for now. But we all know that how many times phones get hacked, and people could easily have that information later and use it against you, or take a full identity of yourself and away you go,
So I explained the future really well, right?
Yeah.
So let me tell you what's going on right now.
Yeah.
So first of all, I have to tell you, all of this came forward, all of the excitement happened when this guy Beeple, the artist Beeple, sold his 500-day NFT for $69.2 million, right? It was all a big marketing ploy, right? Some of these whales that had Ethereum that now have like $60 million or $600 million decided to create this kind of excitement around NFTs.
Mhm.
So Beeple went to Sotheby's and put this thing up on sale, and these whales started competing against each other, but they all knew what the game was. The game was that they were going to reach a critical level of $69.2 million, and they were going to be in the New York Times the next day, and it was going to be all about NFTs. Brilliant marketing idea, right? I mean, you're basically saying, I would be like me saying to you, hey, Nigel, I'm putting out an NFT. You got a ton of money. I want you to spend an insane amount of your money on this NFT, and then we're going to get an article in the New York Times, and then everyone's going to hear about NFTs, and we're going to kick off an industry. And that's exactly what happened. And so what you have right now is kind of a staccato movement, right? A kind of start and stop that you're seeing, right? First it was art, then it was utility, then it was gaming, right? And all of these are kind of moving forward, but they're still not the future of NFTs. They're still, do you like the artwork? Yeah, I like the artwork. Do you like the utility behind this artwork? Which means, like, let's go through this. So, Bungie project. So I own a Bungie, right? I love the artwork. I happen to love the artwork. I also love Wabby Punks. I have a shit ton of Wabby Punks at this point. Insane amount of Wabby Punks. Now, they started off as free. Anytime somebody puts it up for, sells their Wabby Punk for free, because I grabbed 50, 60 of them at the free point. Some people go in, I don't know why they do this, but they then let theirs go for $0 because they're upset with the utility. But there is no utility behind this. It was just art, right? But then you have projects like Magic Mushroom Clubhouse, Panda Dynasty, things that I'm kind of invested in because I want to see where the utility is going. And that utility can be, for Panda Dynasty, it's video game. They're creating a video game. They do puzzles. That's how they entice their community. With Magic Mushroom Clubhouse, they've given free NFTs that are pets to the mushrooms that you bought. They have this psyllium that has a marketplace, so you collect psyllium on Saturday, and then you can bid on things in the marketplace. But this is all very rudimentary. This is all very elementary stuff in this market. You have to realize that those utility projects were only 10,000 NFTs, of which many people grabbed 2 or more. So now, see, this is what a lot of people didn't understand. 5,000 people isn't a lot of people. How do you generate interest? Now you only have 10,000 in your NFT series. You've sold them for a couple of $100, maybe even like a Bored Ape Yacht Club is a couple of $1,000. Bored Ape Yacht Club may be selling for millions of dollars. Guess what? There's still only 10,000 of them. And at some point, even if everyone who owns one only owns one, that's still only 10,000 people. That doesn't even sell out the Red Bull Arena. Right? You can't even sell out. I can't go to NBC and say, I mean, they're going to try to do it, go to NBC and say, hey, I have 10,000 people that love this product. Get me a show. What are you talking about, get you a show? You only have 10,000 people. Maybe you only have 5,000 people. So like that all has to like be reworked. And that's why you're seeing kind of this start and stop. Like, it used to be like there you would want to get onto a whitelist and you would have to be on the
Yep.
Discord and you'd have to be talking to people all the time. Now these projects are free. Now the excitement is, can we give things away and then give utility behind it? But the only people that can really do that are well-funded projects or projects that just have artwork, that just want to get rid of it, and they have no intention. They're not rug pulling, which means that they're gonna pull the rug out from under you. You've spent money on this. 200 people, 5,000 people spending $200. You make a lot of money on those, right? And then the royalties and everything like that. But that's kind of this staccato movement, this start and stop. But until we really move into NFTs being a major source of, utility that you and I are going to use to fill up our car with gas or, tie our bank accounts to or tie our health information or insurance and things like that, this is all kind of just play. Right?
Right. It's almost like gamification just to kind of, see how it works.
Totally.
If it works at this level and the popularity is easy, then it's like, oh, well, it was easy to buy this game piece. Now I understand the benefits. So it's kind of like an early education of it,
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the early days of Web 1.0, right? We were all in AOL chats.
Yeah.
Like, and then if you had a good, successful AOL chat and you tried to convert that to maybe a website that had a blog, we didn't even have podcasts in the, beginning days. Like
Yeah.
people don't even like, all these kids are being born and like they're being, have an iPad shoved in their faces from the second that they're born. Like they have no idea that, oh, this is a pen. You used to use a pen. You used to have to take physical money out of your, just like they have no understanding.
Yeah.
So as things progress, this is such an early day. Now look, there's gaming. So we need to talk about gaming for 2 seconds, right? So gaming in your case is, interesting, right? So you were going to buy that utility, you're going to buy that NFT. It was going to be played in a game. You were going to get, so it's played to earn. So
you basically would earn their coin.
Right.
Playing, and they would do random things called an airdrop as well while you were playing. So based off of like your popularity in the game, you might get a little bit more fraction than the other person,
right?
And so forth. So it was interesting, and I see other people doing that, but like I just couldn't. At the time of the sale, I was probably looking at like $600 to $700 of US cash to buy enough Ethereum to purchase this NFT, and I was like, that's still like a lot of money to throw away to see it just go into nothing. Right. But I understand that it could go into something. But I just didn't have enough, like, not that I didn't have faith in them. I think they can do well, and they seem to do well. But at the same time, I was still like learning and trying to figure out, like, is this real? Or is this company really going to take off? What makes this game better than the next guy that comes out that's got more funding, that can have a better programmer and a better game? This game's only on one platform. What about all the other 10 platforms you can play games on? Right. So I started to think that way, and I'm like, it's still early stage, but I don't want to just drop $600 and be like, oh crap, I lost $600,
And also that game wasn't ready to launch, right?
That game doesn't even launch until this month. The sale was in May for the NFTs for one, if you were on the whitelist, which I was on a whitelist, so I got a lower price. And then later in May, it went out to public for everybody. At the same time that happened, that's when the Ethereum price went down. And I was like, oh crap, I could have bought it cheaper, but I would have bought it at the public price, which was cheaper than the whitelist price because of the drop of Ethereum. And I was like, I can't be involved with this right now. I just have to watch the shitstorm.
Yeah. No, you have to, it's just like surfing. I mean, this whole market is just like surfing. You have to know
wait for that wave. Yeah.
Watch and wait for that wave. And you've got to catch it at the right time. And if you get it at the right time, you're golden, right? If you had bought an Axie Infinity, 2 years ago and you were playing Axie Infinity, you'd have a lot of effing money right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
the theory or the idea is good, I think. And it's still at the infancy of figuring these things out on who's better than who. and who I want to, put a little bit of money into to see what happens
Yeah.
versus, like, oh my God, that's a horrible idea. So
Yeah, no, so first of all, let me explain to you the life cycle of these prices, right? So you have the whitelist, so you get in private, so you get it at what they're selling it for at the cheapest level that they're going to release it for. This is
Yep.
all before, like, everything was free, right? Now you
Right.
could probably go back and find somebody that's trying to just dump it for whatever reason. But essentially, like, you get it in at, let's say, 0.04 ETH, right?
Yeah.
And then it goes to public at 0.06 ETH. You've already made 0.02
And
ETH.
that was the case. It was 0.02 for me on whitelist and 0.03 for public.
Okay, perfect. And then 0.03.
Three.
So it went up one. Okay.
Yeah, just went up one.
Then what happens is, so everything looks the same when you buy the NFT, right? Kind of has like a little animation, but it's basically just an image, and then they're going to do a reveal. During that period of time before the reveal, there are people that are trying to sell it for like double and triple the price. Now,
right, they're like doing the whole like penny stock flipping thing.
right.
They're trying to get rid of it. Yeah, yeah.
Right. For the people that didn't make the whitelist, for the people that couldn't be at the public, but now hear about this project and they're like, I got to get in on this, right? So that's when, now a lot of things can happen there, because if you bought 2 or you bought 4 and you're only going to sell 1, you have no idea which one of those 4 are your highest rated, NFTs. You're literally selling blindly. But you're selling at what could be the highest price, because as soon as the reveal happens and as soon as the ranking score comes in, everything takes a dive.
Right. So you're selling it at the most popular point, because maybe when the news comes out, everyone's like, ugh, and then it really goes down.
Right. Well, because especially if it sells out, right?
Yeah.
So if it sells out between the whitelist and the public, and then when it goes to market, and those people that couldn't get either, now all 10,000 have sold out. But here's what happens is, once the reveal happens and once the rankings happen, realize it's a ranking from 1 to 10,000. So if yours is ranked 9957,
yeah,
it's worth shit.
Yeah, it's the bottom percent. Yeah.
It's not worth anything, right? So you want to kind of play that game if that's the game that you're in. Now, listen, there are people that I have met that have left their jobs. They were doing well and they left their jobs because they had made so much more during this time in NFTs that it didn't pay for them. They thought that they were just going to, this is their life. This is what they're going to do from now on. They're just going to flip NFTs because they figured it out. But of course, now there's a big dip. Now everything's for free. Anyway. Moving on to the next question.
If I was going to be serious about this, I should really be thinking of the software wallet coupled with a hardware wallet, because that's important. And
Right.
then that went with, like, do you have any suggestions for hardware wallets for folks out there, or for myself? I mean, I know that like everybody each his own, and you can Google all that stuff and you see all these, wallets that look like USB sticks. Some are nicer, like a phone brick. So you just wonder, like, they all have their features. But I think the basis is like I should have something, right, hardware as well as software.
Right. So yeah, this is a great question. This is a great question to end with, right? Because, do you need a hardware wallet? Okay. So everything is learning. It's all a question of where you are in the learning curve. I've now been in here for about 2.5 years, right? Mm-hmm. Just at the start of the pandemic. So whatever that was, about 2.5 years ago. And, my first purchase of a crypto coin was through crypto.com.
Okay.
Now my education is that I've realized and I've learned through just being in the industry and learning all this stuff, not your keys, not your crypto. So when I have, and I still do have coins in crypto.com, they are located in Hong Kong. Anything could happen where I get a text message and says, we're shutting down.
Right.
Anything could happen. Hong Kong government could shut it down. Chinese government could shut it down. US government could shut it down. anyone can shut it down, right? And then my crypto is gone.
Right.
This is a learning process, right? So it's the same thing. Now, of course, I've gotten to the point where I know that I need a hardware wallet. I know that I need a public and a private wallet. Okay,
Right.
so essentially what happens is you realize once you start collecting valuable NFTs, you don't want to lose those NFTs. And if you keep them in a public wallet, there's a very good likelihood that it could get hacked. Now, the private means that you're moving it onto a hardware wallet. So what I do, and this is what I suggest, if you're going to buy a new NFT and you're not 100% sure if the contract is safe or the website is safe or the coders are malicious,
Yeah.
you buy that on your public and you don't keep anything in your public that's of value. And then as soon as you get it and you think it's of value, you transfer it to your private. And that private is your hardware wallet. And I'll show you what my hardware wallet looks like. This is what it looks like.
Yeah.
This is it. This is Ledger. So this is it. You're right. It looks like a USB, but it has, so you have to have I think it's a 10-digit code to get in. You have to, and this is the other thing, when you're setting up your wallet, they're going to give you a 12 or 24, I don't even remember what it is, maybe 24, keyword passphrase. You have to write that down. Write it down. You don't put it.
Don't save it as a screenshot like I did.
Do not save it as a screenshot. Do not even.
I did this when I signed up with MetaMask. Yeah. And I was setting that up and did that. So and I saw the things where you can get it etched on a piece of metal to keep in your pocket, or put in your safety deposit box at the bank, which is kind of redundant, putting your NFT stuff in a bank, which is weird. They're not synchronized.
Right.
The hardware and the software. So it's not like what I do on there is also on here, but I can actually move it to the hardware to be secure, and it's physically safer there than it is floating around in an app on the public side.
Oh yeah, because you have to give permission. Every single step you have to give permission. If you want to transfer it in, you have to give permission. You want to transfer it out, you have to give permission.
Right.
And so, like, for instance, if I'm ever going to sell something from my hardware wallet, I'm not selling it from my hardware wallet. I'm moving it to my public, and then I'm selling it.
So it's your little secure FDIC in your pocket now.
Absolutely. and because you can keep NFTs and crypto in it, right? So all my crypto is in my hardware wallet. This also can, and I don't want to be gross here, but in a very, very bad world, in a very, controlling world that you may have to leave the country for because, let's say Biden says, anyone holding crypto, is a felon of the United States or some other bullshit like that, right? This fits very nicely up your bum when you try to get across the country line. And listen, I am not joking because, listen, there are guys from the Ukraine that had a little bit of Bitcoin, and that's literally what they're surviving on in Poland right now because they knew to take that hardware wallet and get the hell out of the country. So it's and of course, if you're asking me what hardware wallet I prefer, I do like Ledger as opposed to Trezor. There's no specific reason. There was kind of the fitability. There was the smallness of this that I liked. Trezor is a square kind of triangle thing.
Right.
But other than that, they're both very, very good. There are new things coming onto the market. I always why did I go with Crypto.com? Why did I go with OpenSea? Why did I go with Ledger? They've been in the business for a while.
And Ledger was who I was looking at, honestly. Like that, just between a couple of different sites, it seemed like more informative, and they had a couple different choices and a good explanation of what each one did. So it was easier to kind of like make a decision on what you wanted from them. So
yeah, and here's my little pitch to everybody who's watching this. There is an affiliate link right in the bottom of the description. It doesn't necessarily really help me out that much. So Ledger's a
But
little
click on it anyway.
yeah, Ledger's click on it anyway, but Ledger's a little bit cheap in what they're doing. So you actually get, I think it's a $5 coupon code to buy more Ledger, and you can kind of stack them up on top of each other. So I had like $40, so I went in and I bought like another Ledger. So when you buy through the affiliate code, it like gives me $5 coupon. It's not
Nice.
like,
Okay.
and I do think that, from your end, from the technology side, I think that you should definitely get to that point where, and here's the other thing. So once you have a hardware wallet, you're actually buying crypto on that wallet. So Ledger has what's called Ledger Live, where you can actually go in and you can buy the crypto. So you're not transferring it from like crypto.com, which means they're taking a fee and they don't
Right.
really want you to move your stuff off of their, platform. But Ledger, you can buy everything, pretty much everything. Not everything, but pretty much everything through them. And then they're getting better at adding coins all the time. So yeah, I like Ledger. That's
Okay.
where I buy my crypto now.
Cool. Well, this has been really good, man. It's informative. I would love to be back to talk about some other stuff. I know that
Yeah.
between our company and just my curiosity and things like that, there's a lot of things I've been thinking about or just trying to like the book has been really helpful. So thanks again. I know it took me forever to get started on the book.
Yeah.
But it is like a good like high level explanation. I mean, they go deep and nerdy sometimes, but at the same time, you understand like how this started from the invention to now. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. And when you get super nerdy, you can read the books that I have read, including Bitcoin and the Law, which is a huge yawn fest, but
The law.
necessary. The law. Yeah, the law. Okay, my friend. This was great. This is a great podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Everybody, we will see you in a couple of weeks. We have to kind of see where the market is, where Florian is. We have a couple of guests coming up in July. June is pretty busy for me, but we hope to see you soon. If you've got questions for me, if you want to be a guest on the show, let me say this. If you want to be a guest on the show and you're an industry professional, definitely send me something. If you have an NFT project, we would also like to hear from you, but just realize that we're very skeptical on those NFT projects and we really got to get to know you,
Yeah, or just put us on the whitelist right away. So that's fine.
Yeah. Thanks so much, everybody. Really
Take care.
appreciate you watching. Take care. Bye, Nige.
See ya.